Hi, welcome to another episode of Bougie Best Friend. I'm your host Koko, and I hope you're having a wonderful day because you are wonderful. I always have to remind you of that. Some of you probably remember that earlier this year I launched a jewelry line with Wove. That collection was probably one of the highlights of my year when it comes to my career because we really put so much time and energy into creating this collection, and everything we created I wanted to really represent the bougie besties, knowing your worth, and all the things that we preach on this platform. Wove was a wonderful, wonderful partner, and I am just so blown away by everyone on their team, and I wanted to have their CEO Simone on the podcast. The collection is still available by the end of the year, and if you use code COCO20 you can get 20% off. This is exclusively for my podcast girlies. Nobody else has this discount. I didn't post it on Instagram, TikTok, or anywhere else. This is just for my podcast queens. This episode is full of tangible tips that you can take today to present yourself in the best possible way in the business world. I learned so much from her, from like the tiniest details. I love her energy. The way I would describe this episode is like CEO 101, like what to do to be the CEO that you wanted to marry, how to present yourself in the business world in a way that people listen to you and they take you seriously, because women constantly struggle with that. At least I do. I love this conversation. And if you loved it as well, please leave a 5-star rating and a review because it means the world and it helps the show grow. So without further ado, let's hear from Simone.
Simone, welcome to Bougie Best Friend.
Oh, thank you so much, Koko. Thank you for having me.
You and I got to know each other through our beautiful Wove collaboration. I am obsessed with my pieces, and
good.
I'm just so grateful for you and the team and everything. But today's conversation is going to be obviously about the company and all of that. But I want to learn more about you as the CEO and like a little bit about your background. So let's just get into it. Give me a little background. Where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? And just like an overview.
Yeah. So I was a military brat. My parents were in the Air Force, so we lived all overseas. I was born in Germany, lived in Italy, Guam, finally made my way to Texas in middle school. And so that's where I ended up going to high school and university. So I went to the University of North Texas and joined corporate life after that. So I was at Capital One. But really, I was a corporate queen 9 to 5. And then 5 to 9, I had my own business. So I was selling hair extensions and working with influencers. My identical twin sister is an influencer. So it was always like this dual life. I was always in the business, sort of the formal version, but also growing brands on social media. And so it was time for me to decide what was next for my career. And so I went to business school, and that's where I ended up going to Wharton for my business school experience, which was phenomenal. Met the best people there. But really, that was what taught me how to scale a business, like go from idea to like multi-million-dollar business making. That experience helped me so much, but it also tapped me into the right people to make those types of moves happen. So really, my experience has been in the corporate realm, but also entrepreneurial. Spent a lot of time in the beauty space, influencer, content creator space, and now I'm kind of taking all of those experiences and growing Wove.
Wow. Okay. First question: when it comes to business school, do you think that? I mean, you said you got a lot of great connections and all of that. But if somebody wants to be in the business world, is it necessary to go to business school, or is it like just a nice to have?
Oh man, I have lots of thoughts on this question because it really depends on what you need. Every entrepreneur has a different set of pros and cons, right? Some of us have deep industry expertise, but have never ran a business. Some of us have run businesses all day long, but we've never learned anything very deeply. So it's trying to find the middle there. The other element of it that I think business school leans to is network. And so for me, I had been in business. I had my own businesses. I was at corporate where I was getting great training and I had great relationships there. But when I wanted to step out and meet new people in another industry, I had nothing. And so much of entrepreneurship and, raising capital and just making the right connections to grow a brand, you need networks, and because the networks are your vouchers. When you don't have a digital footprint for your brand, you have a friend like Koko who says, hey, I know the owner of Glow Recipe. You guys should talk. Like that type of interaction. So I think for me, if you're in a space where you are on your own in your kitchen building, a shampoo brand, you got to get out there and network. Of course, you can do that through community-driven things, but for me, business school was just an accelerant of that. And you just get to like the best of the best very quickly. It was very expensive, but you kind of have to make that trade-off for you. For me, it was, I didn't go and I had a business undergrad degree, but I didn't do like lots of financial focus. And I knew that I needed to have that financial prowess to do what I needed to do. But then also coming from a military background and Texas, I didn't know people in LA. I didn't know people in New York. And so when we think about growing a brand today and knowing influencers and content creators and media, I had no connections. And going to Wharton really gave me all of that.
I have so many questions for you. I feel like we're going to be here like for 3 hours, but yeah, we'll be mindful of the timing.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you think back on your corporate days, then you were running your own business. Can you share some things that you learned in corporate versus running your own business? I know this is like a really broad question, but like what was the first thing that came to your mind when I was just saying like about the corporate world?
Data. You have to make every single decision with data, and data can come in many forms. You have qualitative data that is sort of the feels and the emotions and talking to like 5 people, you know, in your network to understand if your solution actually solves a problem. And then making sure that you have the quantitative data. How many times does it take for me to say that something is true, that something is a pattern, that something has impact? And I think a lot of times as entrepreneurs, especially younger entrepreneurs, where you don't have any data, like ever, you know, you're just starting out, you don't know how many people like it, you don't know how often they would recommend it to a friend. But I would say, you know, in the business world, in corporate, you're forced to have something to back up everything you say because you're trying to convince large organizations of people to believe you. And so you need to figure out how to have conviction, but also the data to back it up. So when I'm talking to founders and, you know, younger entrepreneurs, I talk about that. Like, what data can you figure out, right? Data is research on your current competitors, the current market, current consumers, and just trying to collect as much of that as possible. And then you have to test your solution against that. And so again, it's like, how do you prove that this thing is real before you spend a ton of money on it, before you say, hey, this is what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. But being so data driven and relentless about that data aspect whenever you make a decision, like by far the best thing that I got from corporate into entrepreneurship.
I just have to say this is so true. Even when it comes to being an influencer, I always look at my analytics and I'm like, which piece of content performed the best? And like, okay, it means that my audience wants this type of content versus that, and then make decisions based on that. So when you were running your own business, what was the main thing that you learned?
Oh gosh, I learned I cannot be afraid to be in front of the camera. And
you're so good in front of the camera.
Girl, this is an earned skill, okay? It has taken time. I was like the shyest kid when I was little. I have an identical twin sister, like I mentioned, and she was more of the extrovert. She was the one that was sort of like in front, and I was always like her plus one. And then during my corporate career, she was in front doing L'Oreal things and Sephora Squad. And again, I was sort of like in the background, but I knew, you know, once I started building my own career, even at my first job, I had to start to speak and have a presence, and very much that nature versus nurture. Naturally, I'm very shy, very calm, very, very like quiet. But nurture forced me to say, okay, Simone, you need to speak up or else you're not going to get what you want. And you're ambitious, and so you have to push through. And so, you know, similar to you, when I was building my business, it was purely on social media. And at that time, it was Instagram. Instagram was a big thing. This was like 2013, 2014, where it was really easy to grow on social organically, but you still had to kind of figure out like what was working, what wasn't. And so what I started to realize was I was selling hair extensions at the time. I was showcasing hair extensions, and then I was having other people, you know, post content or whatever. But this was, again, like, before it was like UGC, like before it was just sort of like get somebody else in the photos because I need to show different things. But at that time, I realized like my top performing and top selling pieces of content were when I was in The View. And this is, you know, there's a multitude of reasons why I think that works. But some of the things that I feel like founders and brand owners need to think about now is getting in front of the camera, but not just because you're a pretty face or because you're just the only one there or you don't want to hire people. People buy from people. And so if they consistently see your face, they consistently learn that you know what you're talking about, that they can trust you, then they're more willing to ask you questions and then give you their money. But if you're not in front of the camera, you're not able to do that. And, that's how you are like at your storefront in this digital age. If I had a brick and mortar, like little shop on the street, I'd have somebody come in and as the owner, I'd welcome them. I'd say, hi, how are you? I'd learn about them. They'd learn about me. We'd maybe say hello as they pass by throughout the days. But in digital space, you don't have that. So you have to get in front and say, okay, how am I connecting with my audience on my cup of coffee as I'm getting ready for the day running my business? Because eventually that does build trust in order for you to then sell.
I can't even believe that you were a shy child. I just don't. Okay, we need to get some of your tips because even when we met in person a few months back, like you're just so captivating. Your energy is just.
Thank you.
What did you do? How did you learn certain things? Because even I am typically an extrovert, but sometimes I see myself, okay, like maybe, the imposter syndrome, like, oh, I don't belong here, or I should maybe not say that, or also me being an immigrant, it's like, oh, what if I say something incorrectly or whatever? So what are your tips when it comes to just like putting yourself out there and just, get what you want, basically?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's hard. It's a lot easier said than done. And I feel like the result of what you're seeing is a decade of like day in and day out trying to get myself to be more outspoken. I think that's one thing, again, that corporate does help you with. You just need reps. You've got to get yourself out there in different ways. And so for a couple of years, I was put in a role where I had to speak in front of people. And when I tell you, I was terrified every single time. I was the youngest person. I was the person without the business degree. I was, the one that didn't speak exactly the way everyone else did. And it was terrifying. And I just had to like live through that. So I think there's a bit of it where you just gotta grunt and push through, but know that you're putting yourself in position because you are focused on gaining a skill. For me, I wanted to be a better speaker. I wanted to be a people leader. I wanted to grow my career and be like the, big girl bosses of the day. And all of them look very comfortable speaking to a group of people. They are very confident. And then the other bit is if you're not confident and when you talk about something, nobody's going to believe you and nobody's going to do what you want them to do. So I started to realize,
I love
you. It's how it goes. So like if I want someone to go with my idea, I need them to believe that it's the best thing since sliced bread, which means I set the tone of that. I set the energy. So at your event, I wanted everyone to feel welcome. I wanted you to feel welcome and proud of yourself and celebrate. And so if I walk in and say, hi.
You're almost like, what did I do wrong? Like everybody's like, why is the CEO so
awkward? Yeah. And not happy and excited for you. And I think like bringing the right energy and tone in a room is so important, but you have to get right. You have to get past that nervousness at first. One tip that I actually was thinking about the other day, and it was connected to networking, but I think it could be in any of these moments, that it was just like really setting your mind around being the owner of the room. So whether you're walking into a team meeting and you're presenting as a team member, not the boss, just pretend you're the boss. Or if you're going into an event, a networking event, and you don't know anybody in the room, walk in and just pretend you're the host. And like, what would they do? And I tell you, it just opened your mind up to all the things that, you would do if you were in that position. So for me, when I go to a networking event, I pretend, I literally tell myself, I'm the host. I'm going to say hello to everyone. I'm going to say, hi, how are you? I'm going to be intrigued by why they came, where they're from, what they do in this life. And it will give you information to keep the conversation going. And now all of a sudden you're a lot more comfortable. And then you can find that person and another person in the room and then connect them and move on to the next person. But it's really about like setting your mindset up to know that you're supposed to be there and I'm owning this moment and I've got something to say, and just get your reps in So it just becomes more and more natural.
I love this tip. And this is so, I will definitely use it going forward.
Use
I'll be like,
it.
I'll go to an event and I'll be like, this is my event.
Yes.
And I want to say hi to everyone. Do you have any tips when it comes to clothing? Because you are kind of, I mean, you are a CEO. Like, what do you wear every single day? Hair, makeup. Give me like some, you know, some tips, beauty tips.
Yes. Okay. So I would say I have shed the thought that I need to be one version of myself in one room and another version of myself in another. Like I said, when I was living in corporate land and entrepreneurship land at the same time, those are two very different uniforms, if you will. And then when I went to Wharton, I started to see the blending of that because now I no longer had a job, right? I wasn't in corporate anymore and I had to create my own persona. But also I was a leader and I was trying to make sure I was making the right impression. And so that's where I started to figure out, like, we need to find our everyday look that you can walk into any room with. So it is like, what is your standard, like 5 to 6 product makeup look? That it's not too flashy, but also if I take a picture and it ends up in Vogue tomorrow, I won't like hate my life. You know what I mean? I also was like very adamant that if I went to any event, I was going like one step under full glam. And like that might be a hot take for some people because again, it's like,
this
come
is
as
the
you
Bougie
are.
Best Friend podcast.
Okay, girl.
So,
okay,
like, not
so the
for
girls
us.
know.
Yeah,
the girls know. Okay. So one step under full glam. Like today, like I have a good amount of glam on, but I didn't do eyeshadow. I'm doing a lip that like I could walk into happy hour with, or I would go to a business meeting like this because when you start to find your uniform, especially as an entrepreneur, no one can tell you anything. So like, how do you want to show up in the world? So I'd say, yeah, like figure out what is that like, just a little bit more than an everyday look, because that gives you also like this powerful feeling. It's almost like when people say, I always wear a red lip or a pink lip is my signature. I like to wear, if I'm going to an event as a part of Wove, I like to wear dark green or some shade of green if I can, because that's one of our brand colors.
Brand color.
So I just try to do that, try to just make sure that I'm looking presentable at all times. But it's not like you're, you know, I need to wear a blazer and no, like we are redefining what a CEO looks like. And the only way we do that is to actually be that CEO and actually look the way we want to look. And then I would say, you know, for the ladies in fashion, beauty, it's real important. You have to look like your brand at all times. So if we move into your niche or your industry is something that looks pretty or should look pretty, whether it's in your home, a piece of food, a restaurant, an event space, you have to look the part at all times. You never know who you're going to meet. So if I'm working from home, I don't have makeup on, but I do have a little bit of concealer on if I'm going on a Zoom. I am obsessed about having my lashes done because I feel like it brightens my face and it makes me look like I have makeup on when I don't. Hair is that's a whole category. We should talk about hair specifically. But overall, like I just say like find your like just a step above everyday look for your skin, for your makeup, and then for your wardrobe. But make it a uniform. So it's not going to take too much to think through every time you have to go somewhere.
Like Steve Jobs, he was just wearing the same thing every single day. And I think that's so brilliant. And I've been going through this with my own closet, trying to just eliminate things that are not representative of who I want to be. Yeah. And the way I do this, I go to I create a Pinterest board and I just put whatever outfits I like. And if I see something in my closet, it doesn't match that vibe, I'm like, this is just not who I want to be. And sometimes you have those like, you have a sparkly dress and you're like, does this really have to be in my closet if I'm going to wear it once a year, potentially for New Year's? Or I should maybe replace that with a black outfit or a green outfit, in your case, something that you can wear more often. Okay, let's talk about hair. What do you think about hair?
Yeah. So I'm naturally a curly girl. And so obviously growing up, we were expected to straighten our hair for important moments. Interviews, graduation photos, going to work. In my experience, I've struggled with that a little bit of like wanting to press my hair out, but then being sad about my curls not popping, you know, afterwards. And so I went through a long period of time where I was very experiential with my hair. I was doing extensions. I was doing all the different colors. But I would say for my adult career, most of my professional career, I was blonde or wearing extensions. But part of that matched because I was running a hair extension company or I was running a wig brand. So I was always thinking about if I owned a beauty brand, I'm wearing that all the time. Like I'm wearing Wove every day, all day. You know, you got to wear it, right?
Yeah.
So hair for me for so long was a part of like my business that it was like a billboard at all times. So I was always thinking about what looks were trending and I would try those. I would also use it in my content. So hair was always a thing. But I would say, you know, for me now, it's like now hair is not a part of my job and I can choose whatever I want in any moment. I'm really thoughtful about wearing my curls as much as I can because, again, CEOs don't normally look like me. And so I want girls around me who look like me to allow themselves to have their natural curls out, whether their hair is tighter curls or looser curls than mine. Like whatever your natural state is groomed and it is approved and it is welcome in the room. But I also am like very much a glam girly. And so like I got new extensions last week. We're obsessed and I play with color. And like as a CEO, like my team knows, like I'm going to tell them I have a hair appointment.
Yeah.
I'll be back tomorrow. Like, so I want that environment where just as important as it is for some people, you know, other male CEOs will go on like a, you know, hiking retreat or they'll go to the gym for 3 hours during the day. Like we have our versions too, and we can do that. And so for my hair, I try to wear both versions as much as I can. But I will say for PR, this is a very specific thing. For PR, you want to look as familiar as possible across media points. So for instance, Instagram, social media, you're going to see my whole feed. So you'll see me in different ways. But if I'm doing like my headshots and then I'm going on Good Morning America or I'm doing an interview with Page Six or something, if you think that you're going to be highlighted in media outlets and whatnot, I like having like one look that you stick with during that season as you do that press tour or you launch a new podcast. So all your videos look cohesive. That is one like slight caveat I would say with hair.
It's a great tip. Yeah, I love this.
Yeah, it's helpful. Like if I was blonde today and dark tomorrow, it'd be kind of strange. So your headshots, if you're out there, like try to make them match the person that someone would go on a Zoom with if you're, you know, growing your business, whatever. But that's just one thing. Like if you're doing a lot of media, a lot of external, try to look similar in hair color so people remember you easier.
It's almost like my nude nails. Like everybody knows I wear nude nails and it's like such a big part of my personal brand. And then one time I had red nails and it was like I don't know what happened. I'm back to nude. Yeah. And everybody was like, oh my God, Koko with red nails. It was like a thing. Everybody was like, so unbelievable. But the thing is because they are used to me in nude nails. It's a part of my brand. So when they see something different, it's noticeable. You mentioned headshots. Do you have any tips when it comes to like, let's say somebody's a first-time CEO and they want to do like a little CEO photo shoot. What are your tips?
Oh my gosh, 100% do it. It makes people take you seriously. And like, I think a lot of times as women, we think about taking photos and getting our hair done and like all that, like personal grooming things as luxuries. And as a CEO or spokesperson, quote unquote, of your brand, it is not a luxury. It is a part of the necessary tools. Yes, to have people take you seriously. Guys just are lucky and they can get a little cut and they'll be fine. But for us, that's not the case. And so, yes, get the new headshots. Really think about the photographer you use. Do it in studio. Unless you like have a lifestyle brand that makes sense out of studio, then that's fine. But really be thoughtful about the photography and the video and just thinking about it as a full brand package, not just one photo that you're going to post one time. It needs to go on your LinkedIn. It needs to go on your website. It's going to go anytime someone wants to talk about your brand. They're going to take your headshot. Like, for instance, I do collaborations with other businesses and they say, who are the founders or who are the leaders? And they always take that one headshot. And if I didn't have it, what photo would you use? And then could that photo be consistent? And again, it's like, how do you use that human eye to remind people, oh, I've seen her before. Like I've seen this picture before and it gets them to tune in. So, but you want that picture to be like a good one. So
do you, this is like, this whole podcast is going to be CEO 101, honestly, because this is just like genius. Okay. Let's stick a little bit with like physical appearance and all that. Shoes.
Yes.
That's a big one for me because I never know what shoes I should wear. I don't want to walk around in stilettos, but still like your posture is a little bit nicer. So like what kind of shoes do you wear?
For those types of things, I'm really much no more than 2 to 3 inches, and 3 inches might even be pushing it, because usually for business stuff, you're moving around, you're talking a lot. Like, so I try to do simple stuff. I try to do closed-toed if I'm meeting like investors and like more businessy people. But like for your event, we could do open toe and it was fine. Or like it's social sort of networking, you're with your peers, just do something that's comfortable enough. But I agree, like having that little bit of height does give you a better posture. It also kind of forces you to like stand up a little bit and like command a little bit. But I would say like my shoe decisions are probably the least thought of, other than because I have my staples. Like if I'm wearing something light, there's like one shoe that's like this much of a heel.
Can you share some brands that you like are your go-to?
Oh, I'm so basic. Like I'm going to Zara for like basic shoes.
No, we love that. We love
Zara. Okay.
We love Zara.
So the only thing about Zara shoes though, sometimes they are uncomfortable. That they are super cute, but they're uncomfortable. So beware. But I usually, if you can get something with a heel that's not like super high, you're good. And a thicker heel, you're good. There's a brand. I mean, I also don't buy a lot of shoes. I spend way more on tops and dresses, because that's what I usually have to wear when I'm going to new events. So I am an Amazon girly for my business casual wear. Like,
do you have an Amazon storefront?
No, I should. I should
put that on your to-do list. My girlies need to buy your favorite outfits. Yeah.
No, I really do. And usually the stuff that I get, it's like something I could wear to a business event or to brunch with my girlfriends or to church. Like I want it to be, like you said, very versatile, where I'll wear it multiple times. So I like, like I have this like collared thing, but it's still jeans. So it's like casual. I could wear it with my friends, but I could also like go to a business moment.
I actually really like this. I would like this link, please, after the conversation.
Oh, girl, this was thrifted. So that's a whole other thing. Man. Thrift. We went back to the OG way of shopping. But yeah, that's another thing I feel like for this whole vibe of like 90s feels coming back. There's so many good things at like great thrift stores. So don't sleep. Like Amazon is great, but a lot of the stuff, like the more staple pieces, the denim, the linen, the collared, some of the tapered like button downs, you can get great high quality stuff at like your local thrift store that has like really just like solid pieces, because it's all, it's the cyclical fashion coming back.
I think that nails are one of the most important things. Obviously, it's like a full glam look, but like if your nails are not done, it's almost like, sure, you can have an off day or like an off week that like they're not awesome, but like when you talk to people and you use your hands a lot, like in my videos, like people see my nails all the time. What is your stance on this? Like, do you do gel? Do you do press-ons? Do you do them at home? What's your nail game?
Oh my gosh, I do press-ons. I have to, because it's the only way, to your point, that they stay fresh all the time. As a CEO and a mom, I do not have time to go sit in the nail salon for 2.5 hours. It's a long time. And like the moment your nails start to grow out, they look a little, and so you want to like get them fresh. And so like this is the same thing with my lashes. I DIY my lashes too, because I never, like I needed to look full and fresh every single day. Yes. So it's not even a money thing half the time. It's a time thing. Like I literally like don't have the time to sit. What I will still go to the nail salon always for is a pedicure. I'm like relentless about a pedicure. Maybe it's because I live in Texas and you're in Miami, so like
mani pedi is a 4-hour appointment.
Yes, but you have to have it. So like I can't do like press on feet, so I go and get my feet done. But I do like a French gel pedicure, so it's like it does, when it grows out, it doesn't look crazy and it still looks very clean, very nice at all times. So I like religiously do a French gel pedicure.
Where do you get your press-ons?
Kiss at any CVS. The Kiss brand. Even though, normally when you see the brand that's always in the drugstore, that's usually like not the one. I love the Kiss brand. There's a line called acrylic, and I always try to get a nail that has like the French feel. So whether it's a different color, shape, whatever, but I feel like the French look looks more salon than like a color. And the Kiss glue, I've tried tons of different brands. The Kiss glue, even on other brands' nails, the best. So like that little glue that's inside, I have like thousands of them all over. Actually, this is another glue I really like. This one's from Sally's. And it's like the one that a lot of people on TikTok talk about. It's like their Beauty Secrets one. So good. But honestly, the Kiss ones, I get the great glue. And then they have really great French manicure-based designs. I avoid things with stones, though, from Kiss or honestly press-ons, period, because those things fall off all the time. So I try to avoid those. Yes. And then it looks weird. And also, then that's a whole other, like, I think, maybe this is another, maybe it's a uniform thing. But like, I don't love stones on nails for like
we
business.
Just love them on our jewelry.
Yeah, exactly. Leave the diamonds to the necklace.
Diamonds on my love
it.
A
wrist. That's it. Not on the nails. But like I do see a lot of beautiful like creative nail designs, and so I feel like whenever I go to vacation or I'm going to like Mexico with my family for a week, like I'll go do something more adventurous. But day to day, that's one thing I think that's harder to transition from room to room is like your nails are your nails. And so if you choose like French manicure with a red tip, it can be a little jarring for a businessman that you're trying to sign like commercial real estate agreement with and you shake their hand and you have red tips on. So you don't want to distract from the seriousness and the professionalism of what you're doing. But again, unless your brand is red or you are a nail artist, and then it makes sense to continue to always show your brand in the most like avant-garde ways because you want to show your skill. So that's the only caveat. If you're a nail artist, go ham.
I think it's almost like live and breathe your brand. Whatever your brand is, just like present yourself in the same way. I would love to talk a little bit about leading your team and just like the way we were talking about commanding the room. How do you command a team? I've learned that it's so hard to find a team that you can trust, that are going to get things done, that are going to understand your vision. How do you go about building your team, and just like give us a little overview of like leadership?
It's tough. So building a team and leading a team are two very, very different things. That's why like I think, you know, there's a whole realm of recruiters because it is a science to find the right people and hire the right people. But for me, when I think about building a team, the first like skill that I want them to have is amenability, coachability. Like if we can work through stuff together and you're open to feedback and you're honest and you're transparent about wanting to learn, that's rule number one. If you don't have that part of yourself, you can be the best person ever, but I personally won't work with you because especially as brands that are still getting started, you're still figuring, it's nothing but problem solving. It's nothing but learning something new. It's nothing but like this way, and now we got to go this way, and wait a second, this happened, like all the time. So I want people who are flexible and open to coaching and learning and have curious spirits. So that's that. And then I would say, you know, for like brass tacks hiring, there's a whole thing about, you know, slow to hire, quick to fire. And so it's this whole idea of taking your time, making sure you're scoping out the role, really what level of experience matches what you need. And then my thing is all that sort of culture fit, right? Like, are you coachable? Are you open to change? How do you react to change? That sort of experience is very important to me. But then when we skip to leading that team, I wouldn't even use the word command. Like when you started asking that question and you said, how do you command a team? I would never use that vernacular. And I think that's a very specific shift from how you have to go as a CEO and like be this like big boss energy out in the world, repping your brand, seeming strong and fearless and all of that. And that is true. You do have to project that to the external world. But the internal world, there's so much more nurturing and almost, you know, mothering that I do as a leader than it is commanding what's happening. Commanding
is so
is
interesting.
for,
I love this.
Yes, it's my management style. And I would say like everybody has their own management style and it works for different cultures. So for me, I'm naturally very collaborative, naturally very nurturing. I want to help you figure out how to, you know, solve the problem. I want all the ideas, but I'm very focused on creating an environment of psychological safety. That's one of my like commandments, if you will, of my management style. Like I need you to be able to come to me with a problem and be distraught and know that, okay, we've got this, but you're going to tell me the truth about it. You're not going to hide the problem. You're not going to try to solve it and know you're not getting all the information. Like, I want you to come to me because we can make it work. But if you create an environment where people are not psychologically safe enough to come to you with all the information, you're going to run your business into the ground. So for me, it's more about how do I set a vision for my team? We are going to set audacious goals. We are going to break barriers and do things that other people have never done. And I'm supporting you guys and pushing you to that. But I want you to know that I've got your back and I'm here for you. And when we're working through different elements of the work, it's not about you versus me versus what am I going to prove or what am I going to, like, no, it's about what do we need to get done? What's our goal? What's your part in that goal setting? What's your part in sort of coming with a POV on what it takes to succeed? And it's my job to give you the resources to make it happen. And so that's where I feel like sometimes people lose sight of what leadership really is, because quite frankly, you can do everything I just said without being the boss. So that's real, number one. But number two, as a boss, like the critical thing is making sure you're creating an environment where people can do their best work because they are safe psychologically and they have the support and resources to do the best job that they can.
It's almost like in a romantic relationship, you want to feel safe and you want to feel like if you have an issue with something or something is bothering you with your partner, you want to be able to go there and not be worried that they're going to like dump you because you brought a problem up. Let's say that you have an employee and they're just not, either they're not a good fit culturally or they're just like not doing their job, but maybe you just like them as a person, but they're just not a good fit for the role. Like how do you go about that? I mean, obviously we said hire slow, fire fast, but sometimes it's like difficult because, you know, maybe they have a family. Like how do you go about?
Those are the hardest ones. Like it is the hardest thing. And every situation, and I feel like it's different. Like this idea of hire slow, fire fast works in the first 3 months of hiring someone. The moment you get past that point, then what you just described kicks in, where you actually like this person and they're great as a human. You've met their family. You've done all the things. And now you're starting to realize from a performance perspective, they're not hitting the mark. So there's a couple of things that I recommend people do. Number one, you have to be so thorough and specific about your expectations with this person. If this person, like I said, coachable, open, amenable, if that person is coachable, amenable, they will see the expectations and you both together will figure out if they can meet them. There's going to be a period of trying to meet them. But if you get to the point where you've worked with each other, you've given the additional resources, you've talked through what might be holding them back, and then we're realizing it's just simply not a fit, at that point, you've already been on a journey together of trying to make it work, right? And we're both adults here. But also as a business, you cannot make decisions based on your personal relationships with somebody. You have to make the decisions based on the bottom line. And at the end of the day, every day you have somebody who's not a fit in a role, you are losing money and the ability to support the economic livelihood of everybody else in that business. And so then you're sort of like, am I saving one at the risk of everybody else? And at the risk of the true growth that your business could experience if you had the right person in that role. So it is very difficult. And I do not wish that experience on anyone. But as business owners, we will all have to go through that multiple times. The best thing you can do is be as clear in your communication as possible, set expectations with those folks. And it's going to be hard. That's not going to take away like, I've had to let people go and I've cried afterwards. Like I've cried in it. You know what I mean? And it's hard. It is really hard, especially when you still believe in them. But where the business is, sometimes you're doing it because the business isn't going well and you think they're the right fit, but your business can't afford them anymore. Like there's so many ways that can happen. It's just about being clear in your communication and expectations with people. And if you care about them and you have built up that relationship, you can be honest with them about it, transparent, and they will respect your decision. Might not feel good, but they'll respect your decision.
So brilliant. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Wove. How did you end up in this company? Just give me a little story about this.
Well, you remember I said that thing about networking at Wharton? That is exactly how I got to Wove. I was at another startup, beauty brand, building very similar business model to Wove. We were doing custom wigs using AI and computer vision technology, selling online, building a brand from scratch, had raised venture capital, but I was a co-founder and CMO there. And when I got a call about Wove, I wasn't in the business of moving anywhere at that time. I was very much embedded in the brand that I had co-founded, and I love that brand, still an amazing place. But I realized for me as my own person, I wanted to be the CEO. I wanted to set the vision. I didn't want to just do one function. And there was no growth for me at my last company. I was already in the C-suite, and that other C role was never opening up because my co-founder was there, and it's her baby, and that's, how it would go. So for me, it was really taking stock in, okay, I've been here for a few years. I've seen a lot. I learned a lot. And am I ready to really take it on myself? And so I prayed very hard about it, made some really self-reflecting decisions, and decided to try it out. And within 3 months, the business went viral. Almost a year in, I've doubled the business in sales. We have cut our costs by 4 times. I mean, it's been incredible, but I think that's what happens when you're in the right place and they're aligned with your strengths and your skills. It flows. It doesn't make it easy, but it flows, and you reap the fruit of the hard work that you're putting in.
Can you share some things that you've done to, improve the numbers for so much? Or did you do any marketing techniques?
Yeah, well, one was leaning into content creators and influencers and that partnership model. That partnership model fundamentally changed how we were able to connect with the community, how we were able to sell, because it added credibility. It also allowed us to make designs that we otherwise wouldn't have thought of. So partners like Michelle Wee West, amazing partner, not only on the products that we co-created together, but her network. She leveraged her network. That's how we got to Taylor Swift. Right? So utilizing the partnerships not only as great ways to get your product out into the world, but also grow your business and your business relationships to make amazing things happen. And there's obviously risk to that, right? You've got to find the right creators to partner with. But I think that those deep relationships with different creators really help you understand what types of products are people wanting that, they're whispering about at their wine nights, but you don't see in the data because you can't, right? But also leveraging their credibility, leveraging their thoughts and expertise, and knowing what's really going to make or break in the market. So I think partnerships are huge, but then you also have to do those partnerships the right way. You can't halfway do them. You can't just send a product and hope everything goes well. You have to support the partners. So, I know you've talked to our head of marketing about, okay, hey, how are we going to get this out to market? What kind of content should we do? Really using each other as on the brand side and the creator to say, okay, we both have different skills coming to the table. You know your audience, the creative focus, what style of content works. I'm going to leave that to you. But when we think about your products, right, the line you created, what's the price point that we see works easiest? How many diamonds? Do they usually do natural or lab? How are people feeling? How do you showcase this product in a way that makes people feel connected to it and knowing that it's something that would work for their day-to-day? And so we have the data that tells us, okay, across all of our products, here's what usually works. And that creates really, really awesome partnerships along the way. So yeah, the partnership model is phenomenal. I highly recommend anybody, especially if you have a consumer brand. But the other thing is doubling down on social media and being in the places where your clients are. So we've been trying to get our organic just content up a lot. So we're going to be doubling down on TikTok this fall. We've got a lot of holiday plans happening, but a lot of that is with organic because we're seeing, anybody can run ads, but more and more our consumers are very discerning. They know what an ad is. They know what's authentic. They know what's organic. And so there's almost this shift I'm seeing from thinking about my advertising budget as what if I use that budget to actually hire the people to create the content that would go viral? That there's lots of different marketing, key metrics that you want to be looking at as a business owner. But for me, what I'm often looking at for marketing is CPM, which is essentially what's the cost of me getting 1,000 views? And that CPM is a number that I compare how effective are our Google ads? How effective are our Facebook ads? And so that number is rising across all digital platforms, regardless of what industry you're in. It's just more expensive to get seen by people that you want to be seen by. But what doesn't cost that much is when you make a great video and it goes viral because it's going exactly to the niche, to the people that want to see it. And it's showing up in the most organic, authentic way. And so I think brands are going to be more and more pushed to actually hire really great teams of people, not necessarily influencers with their own platforms, but how do we create brand content that actually is just the best content out there, period. And you don't have to pay somebody to watch it because it's just good. It's just good. So that's kind of where I would say, like, I would lean in if I were a business owner today. Lean into organic social, lean into creating really great content, use data of your content to see what works, what people are resonating with, and just, make sure that you're showing up as your brand in every single one of those places. Paying to play these days in terms of advertising marketing, it just isn't working as well. So you've got to be real about who you are and what your brand stands for in every place. And it's got to be great content.
Yeah, I mean, your brand, Wove is a jewelry, that I totally mispronounced the word jewelry. You create engagement rings, you create pieces that people can, not only engagement rings, but so much more, but things people can wear and cherish forever. And those type of actual emotional moments. It's not hard to go viral if you catch somebody's emotion. So let's talk a little bit about engagement rings. I know you guys are, actually, can you share the story of I obviously know how the brand started. Can you share the story of how this even idea came about with the replicas and all that?
Yeah, absolutely. So started with 2 Army Rangers. They were trying to help their deployed friends look for rings. You probably know or can imagine, when you're deployed in in Afghanistan or overseas or whatever, it's a life or death moment. But it also makes you think very hard about the people you love in your life and taking that next step. So in the military community, it's very normal to get married around deployment or the first couple years in the military because you're moving around a lot and your wife can move with you, but your girlfriend can't. So they're overseas and they're sort of having these very, near life death experiences and wanted to get off that plane and propose to their now wives. And so obviously very difficult and scary to ship a diamond ring to a place like Afghanistan or wherever. And that's really where this sort of virtual interaction and creating a custom replica of the ring. So when the soldier gets off that plane, he can get on one knee, propose with a ring that looks exactly like the final, but it's something that's safer to ship. And it also gives the wearer a moment to say, wait a second, can we do an oval instead of a radiant cut? Can we change the setting to do slightly different? Can we do rose gold instead of platinum? Those are all points where now she or he can say, hey, here's as a wearer what I would like in this process. And so we've seen that morph into so many different things, like being able to say, hey, the proposer wants to propose with a replica, or the proposer gets a replica as their honeymoon ring because right after the wedding, they're going to Bora Bora and she doesn't want to wear her $20,000 ring in the ocean, have a Kim Kardashian moment. Yes, nobody wants that.
Say that.
Yes, it's a real thing. It's scary as hell. And the replica really helps with that. So we've just seen so many different scenarios where this sort of test drive of a ring or a travel ring, honeymoon ring is super helpful. But that's really where Wove got its start, that we were all about custom engagement rings, getting you that replica, working with a designer. We have GIA certified designers, so they know everything about metals, diamonds, gemstones, where to buy them, how to get, the best price, all that good stuff. But they're a group of ladies who are like us. So you're designing an engagement ring will feel like how we're talking right now. Very chill, very normal, but they know all the details. So, we can talk in a way that makes sense. We can use Pinterest boards, photos. You could tell me a story about you and Wes going on a trip and we'll now take an element, we'll find a gemstone that kind of mirrors that location or whatever, put a secret stone in the setting to commemorate that moment. So stuff like that, where you can talk to someone who gets you, and then they will use their expertise to create something really beautiful. So that worked really well for us. But then when we had this whole thought of, hey, let's lean into partnerships, let's start doing something different with Michelle E. West, that's where we started doing that process with
Was
custom.
Was she the first partner?
Yeah, she was. She was like our test, and the test went very well. But yeah, really thinking about how do we use that same formula for other pieces, because we realized, some people already got engaged or will never get engaged, or like don't care about that engagement ring that much, but they want to create an heirloom piece. They want to create something for their sisters. They want to create something that commemorates someone that they lost, or they want to talk about their push presents, or there's so many other meaningful moments in our lives where fine jewelry can help really exemplify the meaning of it, and custom helps you really craft something beautiful. So yes, we could have one diamond, right, in a very simple necklace, but what if you could engrave something in the back of that diamond? What if you could engrave something in that diamond to represent whatever is meaningful to you? And that's the type of work that Wove does.
Love it. I would love to talk a little bit about your daughter.
Oh, my Kaya. Yes. Always.
How old is she now?
She's 7. She just turned 7 August 6th. So big Leo energy.
Does she know what you're doing? Like, does she know Mama's a CEO? Like, and also before we get into that, I just realized you said that you were an Army child, right?
So my parents were Air Force. Yeah.
Okay, but like,
military.
It's almost like your life brought you to where you are with Wove, because these guys who started the company, they were I just like connected the dots.
Yes, that's when you know stuff like that you're on the right path, because couldn't have ever thought that would ever be the case. And that ability to relate to the military community, like I was that kid who was living on a base overseas and seeing people deploy. Like that was a very normal part of like my entire childhood. So when I hear the story and tell the story of Wove, it is very, it's personal. Internal to me. Yes. My parents were the young two Air Force airmen who were saying, hey, if we don't get married, you're going to Germany and I'm going to Italy. Like we can't be together. So it's really cool to feel like my identity is still connected to this brand, even when I was just meeting it for the first time.
Yeah, like your life literally brought you to where you are today. Okay, let's talk about your little one now. Tell me how do you even balance the mom life with the CEO life?
It's hard, but I would say again, it's the reps. It's you figure out your flow, you figure out what it takes. So it kind of goes back to when I went to business school. So when I got into Wharton, Kaya was 2 years old. She turned 2 the week I started school, and I was one of 6 moms in the entire program. So there was 2,000 students, 6 moms. Every other parent, there weren't even a lot of parents, but all the parents were dads, because dad went to business school and all the moms were in the spouses groups. And so that from a very early on point told me I'm bringing Kaya, I'm showcasing like what this looks like. And, I really believe that you can achieve what you see in your life. And so for Kaya, I wanted her to see people who look like her, being the bosses, being ambitious, standing up in front of the room, speaking big, audacious goals into the world. So that was my first sort of foray in bringing Kaya into the fold. So Kaya was at study groups. She was at events. Everybody knew Kaya when we had like cohort events, and we had this, we had a cohort for our mascot. It was like tigers or whatever. And it's like a big deal at Wharton. She was at that event. She had her own little mini tiger outfit and she was in the mix. I have so many like student org nights where we would do like, would have like nights where we'd eat like jollof rice all together. You'd have all the African students like bring different jollof and do like jollof wars. And I look back at those photos and she's in those photos. So, like all these people, and those people are all going off and doing amazing things, working at places like BlackRock.
She got connects already.
She's got connects, okay? Her aunties and uncles are all very well connected. But it was also cool for me to sort of learn how to do both in a place that was safe, right? Like it wasn't my job yet. It wasn't my business yet. But I was figuring out how to balance at that time. What I just realized what it's really important is to focus on where your presence is at that given time. So time management, number one. So if it's Kaya time, it's Kaya time. I'm not taking a phone call. I'm not trying to figure something else out. Like Kaya time is Kaya time. And then everybody knows if I have to take a business trip and I have Kaya's coming. And like, she's going to the business meeting. She's going to be there. And, I think obviously I don't do that all the time, but I think exposure is really important. And so for me, it's never being ashamed of being a mom. I love it. I think that having the duality of an entrepreneur and being a mom is honestly like the cheat code for moms, because Now there is no, well, is it weird if I leave early to go pick her from pre-K? No, because I make my schedule and I decide and I'll work around or whatever. But I think it also allows me to create an environment for other parents on our team. So like our team, half of them are parents, which is great because we all have on our calendars blocked like pick up Bennett from school, pick up, but we all log back in when we need to and we all get our stuff done. But there's a level of grace and support that we have for each other. And so for me, I try to do that in every room. But it is a balance. You kind of got to figure out like what are your baseline barriers to make sure that everybody around you can respect those boundaries. And, you know, sometimes you can't do stuff. Like sometimes I can't go to that event, or sometimes I have to put her to bed and I can't, you know, spend all night having a movie night with her on a Friday night because I have work to do. So it's a constant battle every day, but you give yourself grace and know at the end of the day, I just want her to know that she can do and achieve all the things. And so I'm trying to show her through my dream chasing that it's possible.
I mean, she has such a great role model. So I think she is definitely going to be a CEO one day.
I hope that'd be awesome.
Before we wrap up, I have 2 more questions. I'm sure I'm going to have a few more while we're talking, but first one is going to be about time management. How do you like block off your time? Do you have like certain days that you do maybe like Mondays marketing, Tuesdays this, or you kind of like, how do you organize your time?
Yeah. So before it was like that. So I would say when I was like a solopreneur, I had certain days where I focused on certain things because you want to be able to go really deep on those things to get it done. Now, and if you're executing on it, right? So like, for instance, if you're creating content for your brand, like create all the content on Mondays and Thursdays. So you're editing a different day or you're knocking it out on those days and you can do more of the other stuff other days. I'm religious about my calendar. Like everything is on the calendar, whether it's reminder to follow up with somebody on an email, going to dinner with my friends, picking up Kaya's stuff, checking analytics, right? Every morning, paying vendors, like all of it has a place on my calendar because I think what happens a lot of times is we try to just remember our to-dos, but we don't create space on our calendar to do the to-dos. And then you wonder why you never get it done. And then it's like this vicious cycle of like always having stuff and never feeling like I got what I needed done today. So be really thoughtful about putting everything on there. Give yourself like a real group of time. So like if I need to email back, 2 people, I'm blocking 30 minutes to make sure I'm thorough and like doing all the things. So calendar management's very big for me. The other thing is,
color coordinate it?
I do a little bit. Yeah. So like stuff for my team is usually in one color. If I have Kaya, her stuff is pink. But I'm a very visual person, so it helps me.
No, I like color coordinating. I need that because then I see like, okay, this day I have to go out. Like I have a dinner. I have this. Like, okay, it means I need extra time for glam because I don't put that in my calendar. That's a mistake. I should put at least like an hour before to like get ready, put my makeup on, clothes, whatever.
Yep.
I need to start doing that.
Yep, because you don't want to show up disheveled, right? And the busier you are,
or late.
Then you're not. Or late, exactly. Like today, I gave myself an hour to get ready, but I had to go to a sales meeting. And so I had to do both, and that made me a little bit late for the next thing, right? And like, I don't want to show up. I can't show up to an investor late, but I got to look, presentable. Yeah. So it's like very clearly giving yourself drive time. Again, quick phone call to your mom. Like when my mom comes into town, that is on my calendar. Like it's the only way I can keep up. So time management is really, really important. Other thing I would say, there's a lot of like AI tools out there now. I haven't ventured into it yet, but I've been hearing a lot of people say like, hey, like create your to-do list, put it in this app. I think one's I know a lot of people use Superhuman. A lot of people use called Motion or something, but look it up, y'all.
I've seen those, yeah. I'm always getting targeted ads.
Because you have a lot going on, I'm sure. But those are, I've heard, very helpful, and I will probably start to use them. Right now my system works, but if you're in the sort of vein of I need a system, I haven't established anything yet, those AI tools are really helpful because then they'll give you suggestions and like they'll start to learn, your habits and then make sure that it gives you, the right output. But yeah, time management is huge.
Okay, love it. One final question.
Yeah.
This is a question I ask every single guest, and that is, what piece of advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh, about a younger self. Stop being so scared. Stop being so scared. It's fine. It'll all work out. Like that, I have to tell myself that actually it'll all work out every week.
Put a little post-it on your mirror.
Yes, it'll all work out. But yeah, no, seriously, I think I was always so fearful of like, what was to come, or not knowing, or not being able to make sure things, because I'm very type A and I like to control things. And so I would freak out about stuff that was, quite frankly, out of my control anyway. So like, it was just stop being scared, stop being afraid, get yourself out there, but also like, it'll all work out. So whether you fail, you succeed, it'll all be for your good. And I think, for me, like a big part of that now is really my faith. If I did not have my faith to help me through that, I would not be able to not be scared and to trust that it's all going to work for my good, and to have faith that I'm in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people. So I think, if for me, I figured it out by way of trying to control too much. And so therefore I was like frenzied all the time, but I lean on my faith now and know that it will all work out. So stop being scared, stop being worried. It's all good.
Simone, I think we're going to have a part 2, because I have so many other questions for you. But for now, if you can share your socials, where can people find Wove?
Yeah.
What you guys can do. Give me all the links.
All the links. Great. So you can follow Wove on all the social platforms at Wove Made. Our website is wovemade.com. You can follow all my stuff. I'm on Instagram primarily. I share tons of stuff about just being an entrepreneur and a mom, and like, I've thrown in a little beauty content in there, here and there, just because it's like
I think
natural...
you need to do a little bit more, because your tips for like showing up as a CEO and like just put that in. Yeah.
I need to put that in the content pillars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just like outfits. Okay. I have an idea for you. Take a selfie every day when you're going to work and be like, these are the outfits I wore this week to the office.
I need to do that because, well, half the time I'm working from home, but I need to do that where I can create like a little compilation of like, what did I actually wear? Because it is a real thing. And I agree with you. People we're at a loss, especially us millennials, where like, we don't know where to shop these days.
You probably even have it in your phone already. So just go through your camera and just like put them on
You're
on
100% right.
Carousel.
I probably do. I need to. I really need to. So, that's why we need around 2, so you can help me with my content tips. I've been out the game. I've been so business forward. But yeah, needless to say, Simone Kendle on Instagram. That's usually where I spend most of my time. But thank you, Koko, for having me. This has been great. I love chatting with you.
I mean, I feel like I just learned so much, and you're just brilliant. So thank you again for being here, and thank you everybody for listening. And I'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Bougie Bestie, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Be sure to subscribe to my podcast so you never miss out. I release new episodes every Friday. If you love Bougie Best Friend, please leave a 5-star rating and a review. Your support means the world, and it helps the show grow. You can also follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Koko Beauty, and you can find Bougie Best Friend on Apple, Spotify, and all other major podcasting platforms. Love you. Bye.